The following segment is sponsored by Daniel A. White and Associates. It does not necessarily reflect the views of WDEL or Forever Media.
The Rick Jensen Show on 101.7 FM, 1150 AM, WDEL, and streaming to your smart speaker and mobile device.
All right, great. On the phone, as we often do on Wednesdays. Well, actually, just about every Wednesday. Yeah, we have one of the experts in retirement income from Dan White and Associates on the phone. It's Andrew Wood today. By the way, if you have any questions about retirement and how you can keep up, 888-690-8820. Give them a call. They're all great people. Dan White, Andrew Wood, and Dan Simon, and all those folks. They're fantastic, and I'm glad to have them on my team. Andrew, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I saw this email. Now the Fed policies implemented over the last 2 years are taking effect, and what are the ramifications?
So that's going to be Sunday's show. Today,
good.
What I was going to talk.
That's well, in 6-point font, my fault. I should have put on my $1 reader glasses there over there.
Dan has a whole segment on that on Sunday morning on his show. That's going to be the topic. So that's going to be a longer one, more than just the tip of the day here today.
Oh, cool. Okay.
What I wanted to go through today is specifically going to affect federal retirees. We work with a lot of federal employees, former federal employees. It's important to understand how their pensions or annuities that they have through the government are going to be impacted this year. Unfortunately, after 2 consecutive years of record increases, the annual cost of living adjustment is going to start coming back to earth next year. So, Rick, I think you're aware of this, but the Social Security Administration announced that next year's Social Security cost of living adjustment, it's going to be 3.2%, so a pretty significant decrease from basically a 4-decade high. It was 8.7% last year. It's going to be 3.2% this year. But how does this affect federal employees? So for anyone out there, there are basically 2 different systems when it comes to federal employees. First, there's a CSRS, or the Civil Service Retirement System. And then there's also the FERS, or FERS, the Federal Employee Retirement System. So prior to the mid-'80s, basically everyone was in the CSRS system. So those people typically only had access to their pension. They didn't have a thrift savings plan. But in the 1980s, the federal government switched everything over to FERS. They gave you a pension still, but then they gave the opportunity for people to save in the government-style 401k or the thrift savings plan. So what does that mean? Anyone with the CSRS pension, the CS system, they typically get better cost of living adjustments. This year it's also going to be 3.2%. But for those that are under FERS, it's not going to be 3.2. It's only going to be 2.2%.
Why?
Well, they have a system. It's a calculation that they use that's unique. It's different from the CSRS system. But basically, if in any given year, if they see an increase, if the CSRS system has a cost of living increase of under 2%, FERS employees will get that same increase. If it's between 2 and 3%, FERS will only get a 2% increase. And like it is now, if the CSRS COLA is more than 3%, which it is, it's 3.2, the FERS retirees are going to get that minus 1 percentage point. So it takes it to 3.2 to 2.2%. So the CSRS system has better cost of living adjustments than the FERS system.
Gotcha.
However, the FERS system, they have that thrift savings plan that they were able to save to basically help combat inflation and build their retirement savings through that program.
Does that that really make up for it? I'm just asking.
Yeah, that's a really good question. It depends on how much you saved in it.
Yeah, right? Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, And by the way, this is important we have a lot of federal retirees here in Delaware. Mostly they live in the 3 M's of Sussex: Milford, Milton, Millsboro. That's where so many of them I'm talking about FBI, Department of Homeland Security, people like that. Yeah, seriously, yeah.
So here's one thing. Back in February, when this was, I guess they were talking about this, but employees have basically, with the federal system, has urged for Congress to pass. It's called the Equal COLA Act. Mm-hmm. It's been introduced. They haven't necessarily taken steps to pass that. But basically what it's trying to do is try to equalize the COLAs for both the CSRS employees as well as the FERS employees. Now, I will tell you, for most of the federal employees that I work with and that I see, they are under FERS, so they are going to be impacted by this.
Yeah.
But for anyone who started with the government prior to like mid-1980s, they're just going to continue to get their CSRS and those higher cost of living adjustments.
Good that you're paying attention to this because I find it confusing as all get out.
Can be, sure.
Yeah, seriously.
But it's important, especially for those, with inflation, the way that we're seeing things, it's important for those individuals who are receiving those federal pensions to understand how those benefits are going to be impacted.
And we know that, look, inflation's caused by creating money more than anything else. And unfortunately, I wonder, how folks who are retired now are able to get by. They see the 8% increase. Oh, boy, that's great. And the 3% increase, yay. However, how much is are Medicare premiums going up and other costs?
Was that a question for me?
Pretty much is. I don't know if you've taken a look at that.
I think I saw it last week or 2 weeks ago. I believe it's going to be a 6% increase.
Ouch.
On the Medicare.
Yeah.
I don't have that in front of me right now, but I believe it was supposed to be about 6%. So yeah, those increases are certainly going to impact retirees. It's going to increase the normal normal payout for most people, as long as their incomes aren't over a certain amount.
Yeah.
It was about $164 and I believe 95 cents this past year. So that will go up next year
by about 6%. And unfortunately, these things do occur. And then comes a topic for another day, Andrew, which is, well, what about Social Security overall? Republicans have put forth a proposal saying, well, let's raise the age of retirement again. And Democrats are already attacking them, saying, you hate retirees. Oh, my gosh, vote Democrat. But they're going to have to do something like that anyway, no matter what the politics are. The policy has to be tax more people. And by the way, they are raising incrementally, very slowly, they're raising the income amount upon which you can be taxed for Social Security. And I'm not talking about how much you're getting from Social Security. I mean how much you're earning before you retire. And they keep raising that salary amount that they're taxing. They need to really increase that significantly, I think, if they're not going to cut benefits by, I was reading, up to 70, like 30%. You get 70% of what you get now. They could cut benefits by 30% and still raise the age by a couple of years incrementally. Are you hearing anything new on that, Andrew?
So my understanding, they've got like 100 plus different proposals to change the system or to fix it. Nothing's been passed yet because unfortunately that is the kind of political football. They want to blame each other, and I don't get into politics,
Gotcha.
in any conversations that I try to have, but it is one of those things where they know it needs to get addressed. They've got a lot of different things, a lot of different studies that are really built to figure out, all right, what's going to be the best way to make this more solvent. But no, you're spot on. I mean, they're going to have to increase the Social Security tax revenue at some point. How they're going to do that, that's really what's up for debate. But I think they realize that they are going to need to do it. They just don't know, what's going to be the best way, to increase the revenue, but also keep people happy. And I think that's the hard part.
Keeping people happy. Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, Andrew, you're really good at this stuff, and I really appreciate you. Andrew is with Dan White & Associates. You can give him a call at 888-690-8820. And then Sunday morning, as I see in my 6-point font here, and I put on my readers just for you there to get it right this time. Sunday morning, Dan White has the tip. It's actually On the Money is the program. Listen at 7 o'clock in the morning, 101.7 FM, 1150 AM, and streaming live at WDEL.com. And how the Fed policies implemented over the last 2 years are taking effect and what the ramifications are for you. Andrew, thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rick. Thanks for having me.
All right, buddy.